Good evening, everyone. I'm Kathy Pagani. I'm the chair of the Tuscaloosa Historic Preservation Commission, and I'd like to welcome you to this month's hearing. Today's date is July 10th, 2024, and the time is 5:00 p.m. I would like to invite my fellow commission members to introduce themselves to you, beginning on my right, please.
I'm Matt McCool.
Joseph Cox.
Jordan Morris.
Sally Davis.
Thank you. And joining us from city staff this evening, we have Mr. Hudson Cheshire, who is the Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Emily Hayes, the Associate Director of Planning, Mr. Jonathan Bowen, the Neighborhood Resources Coordinator, Ms. Leota Coyne, Planner, and we have Mr. Kevin Jones providing audiovisual support for us this evening. I'd like to go over the procedure for tonight's hearing and the purpose of the Tuscaloosa Historic Preservation Commission. The general purpose of the Tuscaloosa Historic Preservation Commission is that we serve to protect and preserve the buildings, sites, and structures of historic significance in Tuscaloosa's historic neighborhoods. We are governed by Chapter 20, Article 2 of the Code of Tuscaloosa, which includes design guidelines that are posted on the city's website. Our decisions are based on these design guidelines and do not consider use or occupancy. We do consider such factors as architectural style, appropriateness of materials, and how the structure relates to other structures in the immediate neighborhood in determining the appropriateness of the application. Any approval of an application requires 5 affirmative votes. If the certificate is approved, please be aware that there will be a final inspection by city staff to ensure compliance with what was approved this evening by the commission. This is a public hearing. It is televised live on local cable, streamed online through Facebook, and is being recorded to be posted on the city's website. We ask proper decorum, civility, and respect for others at all times. Prior to this meeting, notice was sent to adjacent property owners, and the public has been notified of the applications to be presented tonight. This hearing is a chance for the applicant to present their case, for the public to make their views known about the application, and for commission members to gather relevant facts about the application before making its decision. City staff will introduce the application. The applicant will then have the chance to make any comments. The commissioners will then have an opportunity to ask the applicant questions about the case, and then I will open the hearing for public comment. At the close of public comment, the commission will then discuss the matter and vote on the application. Any person wishing to speak on behalf of another person, group, or entity shall provide written authorization to the chairperson from that person, group, or entity being represented. Immediate family members, and we define that as a spouse, a parent, or a child, do not have to provide such written authorization when speaking on behalf of another immediate family member. And we ask that you please leave signs in your yard. City staff will be around in the next few days to pick them up. I would like to ask the commission members, you've had a chance to review tonight's agenda items. Do any of you have a conflict of interest as defined by Section 6 of the commission bylaws with any of these items? All right, hearing none, we move on. I would like to ask city staff if proper notification has been provided for each of the agenda items.
It has.
Great, thank you very much. And we shall move on with our first application for this evening.
Good afternoon, Commission. We'll first start with one order of unfinished business. This was continued from the June 2024 meeting. This is HPC 2324. Caleb Little petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations to the primary and accessory structure on the property at 1306 17th Avenue. This is in the Druid City Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have the aerial view of the property as well as its location. This is a view of the primary structure from the street. And here we have the adjacent northern, southern, and eastern properties. So the proposal is to renovate an existing front porch. We do have a drawing that shows this a little bit more clear, but they will start by removing the faseboards and posts and replace them with new materials. So currently they are wrought iron or iron support posts. Those will be replaced with 6x6 wood columns. They will also remove the dentil molding around the top of the patio area. We'll call that out in the drawings in the next few slides with hardy board material. And then they would also request to remove decorative metal. This is on top of the porch, and they would just completely remove that and replace it with asphalt shingles to match the existing materials that's on the roof. The format, the size, the profile of the porch will not be altered. So again, here we have a view of the existing porch and another view of the existing porch, and this is the view showing the existing versus the proposed. We do have those dimensions that are called out. As discussed, there will be no changes to the siding material, to the windows. Essentially is just changing out the wooden support post or the iron support post here. Removing that metal on top of the porch. And then the dental molding, I know it may be hard to see in the image, but that will not be retained on the renovation. All right. And the materials, we have wood columns, hardy cement or hardy plank board siding, and asphalt shingles. And then here we do have those applicable design guidelines. We did not receive any public comment for this application, and we do have the representative here in person.
Are there any questions for city staff?
Is there any information available about the originality of the porch balustrade and posts?
So we did note they are called out in the historic survey. It's unclear from staff's perspective if it's an original material to the house or if it was perhaps added at a later date. We do know that they were listed in the survey, but we don't know for sure that that's an original material.
And when you say that it was listed, are you saying that the porch itself was called out in the survey?
The porch itself was called out in the survey. Also, the wrought iron post and the decorative wrought iron post were called out in the survey. I don't know the exact date in which that survey was completed. What we don't know for sure is if that iron material or the wrought iron material was original to the structure, but we did call it out that it is in the historic survey.
Do you have and I'm sorry if I missed it when I looked earlier, but do you have the actual language from the historic survey that we can see?
We can pull that up from the staff report. Yeah.
I have a related question. Even if it came later than the building itself, it may have been there long enough to have acquired historic significance.
That's fair.
So, Commission, the historic survey reads, just essentially only says about these things, wrought iron balustrade, decorative wrought iron supports.
Right.
I think sometimes when I read these descriptions, because I think that's a really valid point to bring up, that they make note of sort of visual identifiers for a property as opposed to this is a very significant aspect of it. It's hard to tell from those surveys, though, the kind of information that you want, like we're looking for, right? Yeah, and so for me, the description didn't help me all that much in determining significance.
You may have answered this, but when was this property added to this? Or when was that survey? When was it put on the historical survey? I'm not sure what the right words are.
We can look at that. I know it's listed. We have a survey for this entire historic district. We can look and see what that date is.
I'm just interested in,
And
sort
when
of
that was
the
done.
time period when
Yeah.
that observation was made.
Right.
Any other questions for city staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Bond. Let me invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to come on up, please. And we will need you to state your name and your address for the record.
Name is Caleb Little, 6951 5th Street, Unit Number 4, Northport, Alabama, 35476.
Mr. Little, is there anything else you'd like to tell the commission about this project?
I think that they explained it really well.
Do we have some questions for Mr. Little?
I have a question. As far as the current structure, the porch, the roof structure, the posts and all that, is it deteriorating? Is it falling down? Is there anything like that, or is this primarily an aesthetic change?
Yeah, so the, everything but the wrought iron is pretty rusted, honestly, but the rest of it, it's just got old paint that is alligator scaled on it, and they're looking for an update.
Is it, I understand it's rusted. Is it liable to like fall down? Or are we talking about surface rust? I mean, could it be beat back with a steel brush and repainted?
It could, yeah,
Okay.
it could be painted. Mhm.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Little? All right, thank you.
Thank y'all.
And we're just waiting to hear back from city staff. We've had no submitted comments. Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to this application? Then I'll close the floor to public comment. And just waiting to hear back from staff.
We're looking into it just to confirm the date of the survey itself.
Okay. Well, we can begin our discussion while we're waiting for that piece of information. Are there any comments that we have about this?
Commission, it does look like the survey was completed in 1979.
1979, thank you.
To me, it's significant enough. I don't think this body really should be taste-oriented. I think we're looking at something that's been around for at least 45 years, was certainly, something ornate and, that was manufactured as a intentional detail. And then you add the dental molding. I mean, I think that's contributing. So to me, and I can be convinced otherwise, all of it together, I believe, constitutes an architecturally significant feature of this home.
How do you feel about that railing on the top?
I'd be interested to hear other people's opinions about the railing and whether it's sort of part of the whole or not.
About the what?
The railing.
The balustrade
top?
or railing. Or,
To me, the railing looks like it was added later, and it seems a bit odd because it has no function. There's nothing, there's no, we're not getting onto the roof there. It's just some detail to me.
It doesn't seem to function.
No.
And
And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't.
the proportions seem wrong for it.
Yeah,
or another.
it doesn't seem to contribute to the structure at all.
Yeah. On the other hand, I do think that the amount of time that the metal railings and the dental work around the top have been there would argue for preserving rather than replacing.
Is the dental molding mentioned in that survey?
We'll verify.
I just remember the railing and the cast iron supports. I don't remember the dental molding being mentioned.
It was
in
not mentioned.
Did not mention the survey.
Can we see the guidelines related to this?
We also have design guidelines related to rehabilitation and alteration as well, so I'll go through those as well.
And to me, it was clearly added later than rather than being original. Now, whether that was long enough ago to warrant its preservation or not is debatable, and that's why we have multiple commissioners.
Right.
As far as a bungalow that has this very ornate detailing on this, includes dental molding, in addition to exposed rafter tails and what is a very simple design on the rest of the structure, I have a very hard time believing that it was original. And typically, I go back to what's original features related to a structure when I'm considering modification, removal, and even additions. So if this were being presented as a new porch, then I would have a hard time approving it for this structure.
You would have a hard time.
Approving it if it were a new porch with this detail.
And city staff,
with the-
in the survey, are they calling
Sir?
this?
I'm sorry, with the existing detail, you would have.
Yeah, so let's say this house didn't have a porch, and they wanted to add one that had dental molding, the ornate wrought iron, and all, and add it to this bungalow that has this very simple detailing on it. I would say that it's not in keeping with the structure. So,
Because in the survey, is it, how are they describing it? Are they calling it a bungalow, single-story bungalow? What do they say?
Yeah, they call it a 1 1/2 story wood frame bungalow.
Okay, so going back, 'cause you were sort of articulating where my thinking was going. Can we go back one slide on the design guidelines here? So reflecting their historic period is where I am with that wrought iron, decorative wrought iron, because I'm looking at this as a bungalow it's an interesting wrought iron support there, but to me, it seems that they're bringing this structure back to the original intention of a bungalow. You know, the railing isn't appropriate there. That dental molding is a little bit odd, and that wrought iron it's fun. I think it's really fun, but is it absolutely appropriate with that structure? I would say no. And so I tend to, in my view of this, I tend to support the application as presented.
I think the argument, and I think I'm leaning the other way, and I think it's because cities need color, they need uniqueness, they need to show their evolution over time. Things don't need to look, every bungalow in Tuscaloosa doesn't need to look like every bungalow in Athens, Georgia, you know, and it's been around long enough, it was intentional, it's part of history, it's in a historic district, it was purchased in a historic district, it was noted 45 years ago. I don't know. So I think that I'm very softly leaning in the direction of letting it be what it is.
Well, and I've always said.
making it be what it is.
Well, you know, structures tend to have their own biography, right? The life of a structure, and we see changes occur. And then we have other changes occur. And this happens over the life of the structure. So I think what the commission needs to decide is sort of the nature of these changes and whether another change now supersedes a change done 45 years or potentially earlier than that. I'm still okay with those changes because I think that it maintains the integrity of the original design. And that's my thinking. But again, as Mr. Morris pointed out, that's why we have a commission to decide these things, because we all view things in slightly different ways. Do we have any?
I was going to add, for what it's worth, there are a number of these ornate structural metal things in the area. And I would say the latest it probably was put there was in the 50s. It could have been put there earlier. So we're talking about 75 years.
Right, so then it develops an age, but does age supersede appropriateness? As I'm looking at structures. You know, sometimes we make a change is made a long time ago, but may not have been the best design decision on something.
I'm not sure we can take a normative view of what the best design decision on something is, particularly when it's been there for 75 years.
I think we can. I think a change is not automatically good, or a decision made in the past is not automatically a good decision because it's old.
I think that's what this body does, is it preserves what is there. It throws an anchor on change. And I think that applies not only to what was originally built, but also the way it's been for a long time. It's, you know, unless it's,
It's an interesting question as we sort of tease this out. I wouldn't say that we put the anchor on change, because we do see changes, and we deal with change all the time. It's just we look at what's best for the area, what's best for the structure, and we all see things in a slightly different way, you know, as we evaluate these with different experiences that we've had professionally, for example, and what we see on this commission as well. All right, so we will vote. We have a standing motion to approve HPC 2324, Caleb Little petitions for certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations to the primary and accessory structures on the property located at 1306 17th Avenue in the Druid City Historic District, Council District 4. We shall vote. Mr. McCool.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
no, I think it's also a little bit dangerous precedential.
Yes.
Yes.
No, for the reasons stated in discussion.
So we've had 4 affirmative votes and we've had 2 negative votes. Mr. Little, I'm sorry, but the application has not passed this evening. Speak to city staff about how to proceed with this. You know, we wish you good luck with the project, and thank you for coming this evening.
All right, we'll move on to cases to be heard tonight. HPC 2624, Lillian and David Vell petition for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a rear yard fence on the property at 412 17th Avenue in the Pinehurst Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have the location of the property and an aerial view. This is a view of the primary structure from the street. And here we have the adjacent southern property. So the proposal, this did come to staff through a violation request or a public comment, but they would like to maintain a rear yard wire fence that has been constructed. The fence is covered in greenery, and it's not visible from the public right-of-way. So we will show you a couple images of those. So again, here we have the picture of the primary structure. These were images of a fence located close by to the property. These were provided by the applicant. This is not their fence, but this is just an example of another wire fence that's located around the city. They also provided a plat map that shows their property is number 7 here. And the fence in question runs along their side property line. And now we'll move into some of the images of the fence itself. So what you're looking at is a picture or image of the fence in question. It is a wire material. It is supported by various posts located throughout the fence. You can see here. And then here we have an image that shows it with the greenery that's grown around it, grown through it. So it is a wire fence. Fences as walls. Wire is not called out as an appropriate fence material. We did not receive any public comment for this application. We do have the representative here in person.
I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So when you say greenery, you're not distinguishing between intentionally planted vines and weeds, correct?
That's correct. The greenery that is referenced is the greenery you see here.
And then do we have a date on when this fence went up?
I will let the applicant confirm. Staff was initially notified September. We worked with the applicant on a timeline to ultimately resolve the fence. Once that timeline expired, they chose to request to keep the fence. So that is why they're here before you tonight.
All right, thank you. So you've been looking at this for quite a number of months now.
That's correct.
All right.
So the fence was already up in September?
The fence was already up in September, yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Bowen? All right, thank you very much. Let me invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to come up to the podium, please. And if you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lillian Vale, and I live at 412 17th Avenue, a property that's been owned by my family since 1900. I join property lines, about 98 feet of property line to the side of my backyard, and it's the backyard of his backyard. It's that yard is flat. Our yard is sloped from the University Club adjacent border all the way to 17th Avenue. It goes down. The neighbor's yard does not. So there's a concrete wall around his yard in order for it to be flat. That's the concrete wall. So at the east end of our common property line, his property is 3 feet higher than mine. And if you see this pole right here, the last one in this picture, that is part of the original concrete wall that was established to make his lot flat. And at the other end of this wall, to the west corner, my property is 3 feet higher than his. So as I grew up, there was a wire fence there. But for the last 25 years, there has been a 6-foot wooden privacy fence put there on their property, on the other property, by the previous homeowner. So in 2021, that wooden privacy fence rotted, and the middle section, about 37 feet of it, fell by the weight, pulled down by the weight of the vines that will always be there, because it's Alabama. So that remained the situation for a couple of years. There was 18 feet to the east that remained held up by rotted fence, held up by little trees. Another 41 feet of rotted fence remained being held up by that garage, and it stayed like that for a couple of years. So, September of 2023? Okay. So January of 2023, an Australian puppy joined our family. There's a gap, a 37-foot gap to the neighbor's yard. Well, we had to put up some wire containment to keep our puppy out of our neighbor's yard. And that was fine from January of 2023 until September of 2023, at which time the University Club's construction crew came over and pulled down the remaining rotted fence. I don't really have enough explanation about why that is the case, but 2 days later, there was an anonymous complaint filed that our fencing was inappropriate. Well, when the fence came down with the construction crew, that left a 41-foot gap with no containment. So we erected this later portion, which you see there behind the garage. So 2 days later, Jonathan comes to the door, and there's an anonymous complaint that our wire containment is inappropriate. And I would like to add that none of this can be viewed from the public right-of-way. None of it, not 1 inch. So my request to the commission is that we be allowed to keep what is there because it's working and it is covered in vines, and what is behind the garage and beyond cannot be seen from anywhere because it's behind the garage And on the other side of the garage is about 15 feet of hydrangeas and the University Club's new 20-something foot wooden wall. So it's difficult to see how the view of that could offend anyone. So
So, Ms. Vale, just so that I'm clear, the first part of the wire fence went up in mid-2022?
January,
In January of 2022?
when the puppy
Oh,
came.
when you got the puppy, that was January of 2023.
The fence had been missing in the middle
Got it.
for 2 years already, maybe almost 3 years.
All right.
It
So
was just
January of
like rotten
2023.
fence, gap, rotten fence.
All right.
We
And-
didn't complain because we didn't know we should.
Well, and you didn't know to come to the commission before you put up that wire?
It was an emergency because we had a puppy that was wanting to go into the nice yard next door and do his business.
Puppies like to do that.
Yeah.
Do we
And the
have,
wire fence had been there when I grew up there. You know, I didn't know that there was anything wrong with wire fence because those poles that were there when the original concrete wall was installed, those poles held up wire fencing, just like what I put,
which was no longer there, is that right?
which was no longer there. 'cause
Okay,
there-
got
The
it.
wooden fence had been there for 25 years.
Got it. Okay.
Did any portion of the wire fence remain, or had it been gone for 25 years?
25 years, yeah.
Can I ask a question about the orientation of the photograph we're looking at? The building that's facing us, is that the garage or
That's the garage, the neighbor's garage.
the neighbor's garage?
If you look through the window of that garage,
Yeah,
you see the University Boulevard.
uh-huh. So
His house faces University Boulevard.
the house to the left then of that garage, the one that we can see a portion of,
That is a little grandmother house attached to the main house.
let's see. And the main house is on University Boulevard?
Yes. I think it's 1702 or something like that. That's where the fence is, right there. It cannot be viewed from anywhere but my backyard.
Or 1702 University Boulevard's backyard
Yeah, when he's getting in and out of his car.
from that property.
But it's covered with vines. So really all you see is vines. And it will always be covered with vines, always has been, always will be. That's why the fence is gone, is because the weight of the vines pulled it down when it was wooden and it was rotten. See that tall one in the middle? That was the original pole that held up wire.
And is that do we see a wrought iron? What am I seeing there? Just to the left of that large mound of vines?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that what is that fence there?
Oh, that is inside of the neighbor's yard,
Got it. Yep, now I
between
can.
his parking area and his green space.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't quite make out where it was ending, but now, thank you, both of you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Vale right now? Ms. Vale, if you'd like to have a seat, we may pull you back. if
Okay.
We have some questions come up. So we've had no submitted public comment. Let me open the floor to public comment. Anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to this application? Hearing none, I'm going to close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion by commission members. So one thing I will add, when city staff showed us black and white photos of a fence in the neighborhood. That's really about a half mile away. So it's not in the immediate neighborhood, and that has been there for a long, long time. Not terribly attractive, but it's not, I would not say that it's in the immediate neighborhood here, or it sets a precedent for this. Design guidelines, if you can kind of pull us back to that for a second, on the appropriate and inappropriate materials. We've denied chain link fences in the past. We've denied, I think one time we had some kind of a cow fence, I'm not sure, or some kind of wire material for keeping cows in, and we've turned that down. I'd like to know what the commission members think. This fence material is not on the list of appropriate materials, and we're in a historic neighborhood. We've had a lot of discussion about fences with this commission in the past and the importance of maintaining proper fencing, materials, height, all that sort of stuff.
So I guess my thought is, it's kind of unfortunate it's come to us, right? Seems like a series of events that occurred, and that wire fence that wasn't viewed from the right-of-ways, been there a long time. And I think there's one of the photographs of the concrete wall where the posts are in there. But it has come to us. I don't know exactly how I'm feeling about it right now. You know, it's pretty black and white. The wire fence is not loud. It's been there a long time.
Well, the wire fence we're looking at has been here since January of 2023. It was put up to contain the new family member, the puppy.
Yeah.
Understandable that there's that need.
Oh,
But here,
I thought they replaced the section of.
no, it had come down. There was a wooden fence. The old wire had come down when the wooden fence went up 25 years ago. That wooden fence had rotted, fallen down in sections. Then the University Club came in and kind of wiped out the last bit of that. And so there was this need for containment, and hence the wire that we're looking at today.
There is kind of an exception for like replacements, but it's been 25 years since we've had a fence like this on the property. In my view, one of the things that I think most people in historic districts, and frankly, all sorts of neighborhoods agree, is that kind of fence rules really do make sense overall for everybody. And I think it would be really hard for us to make an exception for one person as much as we might want to.
Well, I mean, yes, I would agree that we're sympathetic to an applicant who gets a puppy and has to do something with that. But I always bring it back to, as we were talking about earlier, about the integrity of the property, the neighborhood, and then we answer to the design guidelines. And that type of fence is not among the approved materials there. Any other comments? Shall we vote? We have a motion, standing motion to approve HPC 2624, Lillian and David Vale petition for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a rear yard fence on the property located at 1412 17th Avenue in the Pinehurst Historic District, Council District 4. And we shall vote. Let's begin on my left, please.
I'm very sympathetic, but I think our guidelines and our precedents require that I vote no.
It's clearly an inappropriate material, and so I understand the circumstances and all, but we have voted many, many times related to fences, denying for things that are much more borderline as far as materials and configuration than this. No.
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 I have a comment. Can I make a comment?
Well, we've voted.
Historically appropriate wild.
Yes, this is not that.
Since
Can you say?
the commission has voted,
The
it
commission,
is
yeah, the commission has
closed
voted,
at this point.
we're closing that. I want to ask city staff, though, we've had a couple of the commission members state their reason for voting no on this application, but some of us did not. Would you like the rest of us to state our reason for that? Do we need that information? Yes, all right. So I too am very sympathetic to the situation. However, that type of fence is not appropriate, and we have denied similar applications in the past. It doesn't conform to the design guidelines, and that's why I voted no.
And I'll adopt the same reasoning as Dr. Pagani just stated.
Same reason here. I just don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah, it's coming down to the guidelines, and that's the same reason for me.
Thank you. So, Ms. Vale, I'm sorry. I know it's disappointing for you. Please talk to city staff about ways to proceed with this situation, and, you know, good luck with things. And thank you for coming out this evening.
So I'm not allowed to make another comment?
No, ma'am. The case has moved on, so you'll need to reach out to city staff.
All right, next up, we have HPC 2724. Wendy Boyd petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a pool on the property located at 1216 Oakwood Avenue. This is the Oakwood Court Historic District and Council District 4. Here's just a map showing you where the property is located, another map showing you where it's situated in the historic district. Here's an image of the primary structure on the property, the neighbor to the north, to the east, to the south. Getting into the proposal, the petitioner is asking to construct a 10 by 16 foot in-ground pool in the rear of the property. The decking for the pool will be either concrete or stone pavers, and there will be no changes to the existing structures on the property. Again, here's a photo of the primary structure. Here's an image of the backyard where the pool will be located. Another photo of the rear yard from a different angle, and a photo of the fence to access the rear yard. Here is the site plan for the pool. Again, it's a 10 by 16 foot pool. This does meet our setbacks per the zoning code. Again, the material, the decking will be either concrete or stone pavers. And here are the applicable design guidelines. We did receive 2 comments of concern for this application. Both were outside of the scope of the design guidelines, but we did receive 2 comments of concern.
Do we have any questions or requests for clarification from city staff?
No, but I'd like to go back several slides, I think to the last photo of the backyard. No, not that one. Yeah, so there already is concrete there. They're going to take out the concrete and put the pool in.
The petitioner can confirm that.
Sorry?
The petitioner can confirm that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
It appears we have none. Thank you. Let me invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to please step forward. And we'd like to have your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Wendy Boyd. I live at 1216 Oakwood Avenue, Tuscaloosa, 35401.
Well, Ms. Boyd, could you answer Dr. Davis's question? You're cutting through that?
You're taking out part of the concrete between the house and that back structure to put the pool in.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to further clarify, the amount of concrete area / pool is not going to be any greater than the concrete that's there now.
No,
that-
it does not over capitalize on that.
It's a little beyond our purview, but I think I'm going to say it anyway. One of your neighbors is concerned about spillage of water, and if I live in your neighborhood, I know what the water is like there when we have a hard rain.
Trust me, I know too. I've had to put a new sump pump in and all this other stuff because of flooding previously when I first moved into the property.
Exactly. So as long as you're redoing some of that concrete for the pool, I wonder if you would give consideration to some permeable pavers that would allow water absorption. Again, not part of our purview, just a neighborly suggestion.
Well, I'm not constructing the pool, but I could certainly speak with the individual who is constructing the pool to make sure that that is considered and done.
Well, I think we need to be careful, too, that we don't design from here and make suggestions on materials and things. So I just need some verbiage from maybe Office of Counsel on the suggestion made by just Ms. Davis. How do we handle that? Suggestion.
I'm not suggesting it as part of the motion.
Okay. Because we've got pavers or concrete and the pool, and that's what we're looking at. Okay, just want to make sure that we're clear on that. And the square footage of concrete that we have existing, minus the area for the pool, is staying the same.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Ms. Boyd? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please have a seat.
Thanks.
Commission, we did want to make the comment, we had this reviewed by the Office of City Engineers. They did not have any concerns about creating additional runoff or drainage issues in this area.
Thank you. We've mentioned our submitted comments. Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to the application? Then I'll close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion and motions by commission members. If anything, it's reducing the concrete in the backyard, putting in a pool. We've seen pools many times. No comments?
As related to other projects that are similar to this, for adding a pool, this seems completely acceptable as far as the guidelines related to these types of improvements.
I think the things we typically look at are that it's sort of behind the structure, it looks to be behind the structure, not necessarily going to be visible from anywhere. There's sometimes some coverage issues, but it seems like we're at the same or less concrete to green space, so that seems a moot point. So it appears like something that.
So we have a standing motion to approve HPC 2724, Wendy Boyd petitions for certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a pool on the property located at 1216 Oakwood Avenue in the Oakwood Court Historic District, Council District 4. We will begin voting. On my right, please.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
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 Yes?
Ms. Boyd, your application has been approved this evening. Should anything change from what was approved this evening, please talk to city staff before you move forward, and good luck with your project.
All right, next up, we have HPC 2824, Brian and Shane Yoakley petition for a certificate of appropriateness for the removal and replacement of a front yard fence located at 27 University Circle. This is the University Circle Historic District and Council District 4. Here's a map showing the property and another where it's situated within the historic district. Here's a photo of the primary structure on the property to the north, to the south. Getting into the proposal, they're asking to replace the existing wood fence that's at the rear of the property with a 7-foot brick wall. There's a rolling gate there today that will remain. And this may look familiar. There was a previous brick wall approved in the front yard on the University Circle side. This proposed fence is going to match the design of that fence that you previously approved. Getting into the site plan here, so we consider this a front yard fence as staff. Bear with me, here's my first time using this device. So the fence is going to be located here on this side of the property fronting 14th Avenue. We consider this a front yard fence because it has road frontage, which is why you all are hearing this request tonight. Now, how do I delete? I'm learning, y'all. Moving on. Here are some photos of the existing fence today. This is photos from inside. You can see on the left image that rolling gate is what is going to remain. It is the wood that is going to be replaced with the brick wall. And here are just some photos of surrounding properties that have a similar fence and wall situation fronting 14th Avenue. Here's the image of the site. You can see that here, again, the rolling gate is going to remain, and the rest will become that brick wall. Here's another site plan from above, and if you notice the diagram to the top right, the columns will be 7 feet in height, and the brick between the columns will be 6 feet. And as I said, you've seen this before. This is the front yard fence on the University Circle side that you previously approved. The design is going to be the exact same for the rear yard fence. This fence is lower in height, but the design is going to be the exact same, just a difference in height on the rear. Getting the materials is going to be brick wall, and here are our applicable design guidelines and materials.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Coyne? Thank you so much. Let me invite the applicant to come on up to the podium, please, and if you wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Brian Yoakley, 27 University Circle.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your project?
No, it's pretty cut and dry.
I think this is like your 4th time here. I think it's looking great, by the way. I'm enjoying the evolution.
Yes, it is my 4th or 5th time.
Yes. Was nice to see.
Hopefully this is my last.
No other questions for Ms. Yoakley? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a seat. We've had no public comments submitted. Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to this application? Hearing none, I will close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion by commission members. Very straightforward. We have approved something of the same design in the past.
It's just important to note that this is a front yard by definition only. All these structures have fronted the other way for, as long as they've been there. And, so it's consistent with the road streetscape behind these houses.
I think that there's a pretty eclectic streetscape there. I mean, you see both appropriate materials and inappropriate materials. This is clearly an appropriate material. It's almost textbook from the guidelines. It matches the true front yard fence that we have approved already. I see no issues.
So we have a standing motion to approve HPC 2824, Brian and Shane Yoakley petition for a certificate of appropriateness for the removal and replacement of a front yard fence on the property located at 27 University Circle in the University Circle Historic District, Council District 4. We shall vote, beginning on my left, please, Dr. Davis.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Yoakley, your application has been approved. Should anything change, please see city staff before you proceed, and we wish you the best with your project.
All right, our next case is HPC 2924, hearing constructions, petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an addition to the primary structure. This is at 1416 7th Street in the 7th Street Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have the aerial view of the property as well as its location. This is a view of the primary structure from 7th Street. And then here we have that adjacent eastern and western property. So the proposal is to construct an addition to the rear of an existing structure or an existing addition We will note that on the site plan. This will create an additional 10 feet to update the interior kitchen. Hardy board will be used and added to the exterior of the new addition plus the existing addition. The existing windows will be used and they will also be maintained. Any new windows will be composed of aluminum-clad wood or fiberglass. They will match the light pattern that exists, and we do call those out, or we will show those on the drawings in the next couple of slides. Asphalt shingles will match the existing shingles, and a 4-foot porch with railings will be added to the end of the addition. The railings will be wood, which is also notated on the plan. So again, moving to the front of the primary structure here, and we work our way to the back. So you can see in the site plan, they call out and show the existing line or the existing addition that you see here. And then you've got the existing porch area. So anything in this brown shaded color will be the new addition. And then here we have the existing elevation on your right side of the screen with the proposed elevation on your left side of the screen. So they call out all those materials that are going to be used. One note that we did want to call out, the window pattern that you see here is they are requesting to alter that to go with a 6/1 to match the other windows. But they will be changing that one from a 3/1 to a 6/1. And you see all the materials called out there. Moving to the left side of the addition, you can also see some of the windows that will be added. And we did have the applicant confirm the window in the middle that you see here with the AC unit, that window they are requesting to remove. Then we'll move to the right side. Again, additional window, matching materials. And then here we have those exterior elevations. The materials, hardy board, aluminum clad or fiberglass windows, and asphalt shingles to match the existing. We did not receive any public comment for this application, and we do have the representative in person.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bowen? All right, thank you so much. Let me invite the applicant to step forward, please. And could you state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
Good evening. Josh Bonner, 639 Black Bears Way, Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your application?
I think staff did an excellent job of explaining what our client is trying to do here. The only thing that I would add is the diamond face block that you see at the front of the building is no longer manufactured or available.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Bonner? We have no questions for you this evening. Thank you. Please have a seat. All right, we've had no submitted comment from the public on this application. Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to the application? Hearing none, I'll close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion by commission members.
I appreciate the commentary related to the original material and its lack of availability. The fact that this is clearly an addition, it clearly has a variety of siding types on it at this point in time, and their intent to make this look homogeneous is appreciated. And it looks like all of the materials are appropriate for other structures additions that we've approved in the past.
Mm-hmm. And the change in that window light pattern on the right-hand side is appropriate so to keep a continuity across the back of the structure. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, well, we have a standing motion to approve HPC 2924, hearing construction petitions for certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an addition to the primary structure on the property located at 1416 7th Street in the 7th Street Historic District, Council District 4, beginning on my left, please.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Your application has been approved. Should anything change, please talk to city staff before you move forward, and good luck with the project.
Next case is HPC 3024. Nathan Jurdo petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an addition to the primary structure located at 17 Sherwood Drive in the Sherwood Drive Historic District, Council District 4. Here we have an aerial view of the property as well as its location. And this is the property viewed from Sherwood Drive. This may look familiar. This application did come before you back in January. Here we have those adjacent properties. So the request is for an alteration to HPC 224. The alterations include alterations to the second story of the proposed and approved garage, and to also change the number and placement of windows. So what we did is we pulled up the previous approval, and we would like to show you the new request from the applicant. So on your left side of your screen, you can see what was previously approved. You can tell that this new design is slightly larger in this section here. It still conforms to the zoning ordinance, so from a zoning perspective, there were no issues there. And then moving around the property, you can see that they are requesting to add additional windows. You can also see here that it is slightly oriented differently, and that is noted more easily seen from the overview. But as we move through the side elevation and the rear elevation, you might notice that it looks slightly differently oriented. There's no longer this here. It's in fact going to be the second story. Here's kind of a better image that shows that. You can also see some of the additional windows located on the new request. Working our way to the left side. There's a new window that you see there, a slightly different door. All materials are going to match what was previously approved. Here again, you can see additional windows. And this is the final rear elevation. So the materials will match the existing materials. New windows match the same grid pattern. Paint color is the existing windows. The existing windows are aluminum clad wood. We did receive one public comment with some concerns about the project, not directly related to the design guidelines. And we do have the representative here in person.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bowen? Thank you so much. Let me invite the applicant to step forward. Good evening. And if we could get your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Nathan Gordeau. My address is 5615 Union Chapel Terrace, Northport, Alabama.
So, Mr. Godot, can you, anything else you'd like to tell us about the application?
I don't think so. Jonathan covered everything pretty well. Most of these changes are because of interior layout rearrangement, and that's what happened here.
Are there any questions for Mr. Godot? It appears we have no questions for you at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to this application? Then I'll close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion by commission members. Hearing no discussion, we have a standing motion to approve HPC 3024. Nathan Gordeau petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of an addition to the primary structure on the property located at 17 Sherwood Drive in the Sherwood Drive Historic District, Council District 4. Voting, beginning on my right, please.
Yes.
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 Mr. Godot, your application has been approved this evening. Good luck with the project. Should anything change, please talk to city staff, and good luck with this.
Next case is HPC 3124. Mark Nix petitions for certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of a window and door on the primary structure. This is at 325 Queen City Avenue in the Druid City Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have the location, an aerial view of that property. This is a view from Queen City Avenue side of the property, and then we'll see that adjacent northern property. So this proposal is to remove and replace one window on the north elevation of the primary structure. The window will be replaced with two new windows that will match the style and color of existing windows on that same elevation. In place of where the one previous window will be, they will repair it with brick to match the existing style. They will also replace an existing door on the north elevation with a new exterior door. The door is intended to match what is there as well. So here again, we have a view, the front facade, and now we'll move over to the side of the house where that center window will be replaced. As you can see here with the existing and proposed elevations. And they do provide a comment that the new brick will match the existing brick found around the primary structure. We provided just a couple of other images, close-up images of the two windows located on this side of the house. And this is just a close-up image of the large window to be removed. And an image of what the two new windows will match. So the proposed windows will match the design, materials, and overall appearance of the window that you see here. This is a door that's going to be replaced. It's a storm door. Their intentions are just to replace it with a more secure door to match the style that you see there. And this is just another view of this side of the property. Aluminum clad wood windows and door. We did not receive any public comment for this application, and we do have the representative here in person.
Go ahead.
Do we have a picture of the door or a spec sheet or anything like that?
We do not. It's my understanding the proposed door, instead of it being a storm door that you see here, it's going to be a non-storm door that's intended to match the design. I will let the applicant confirm
Same thing
that.
for the window. We don't have like it's going to be a Anderson or whatever.
We don't have the specific brand of material. It will match the aluminum clad wood windows that currently exist.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let me, no other questions for Mr. Bowen? All right, thanks so much. Let me invite the applicant's representative to step forward, please, and we'll need name and address again, if you don't mind.
My name is Nathan Rideau. My address is 5615 Union Chapel Terrace, Northport, Alabama.
Would you mind answering the questions that have come up from Mr. Cox? You know, what about the door, for example?
Yeah, I'm not sure of a brand yet, but I'm assuming it'll probably be wood with glass insert. It's not going to be operable. It'll be a solid glass door.
So the door has not been selected and the windows have not been selected?
No. But the windows will be wood to match what's there. The current door is just a storm door that's not even, I don't even know why it's even there.
The windows are aluminum clad wood or wood?
Wood. They're solid wood now.
And the new one's going to be a wood window?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so the only question as we approve these sorts of things is knowing just a little bit more about the door. So if we can go back to a photo of the structure, are you matching the light pattern of the door, the glass?
It'll be solid, just solid glass, yeah, because currently that, it won't have the middle piece in there because that's operable.
Yeah,
Like
and you'll be looking at a wood door or a metal door or?
wood or metal. I'm not sure what brand we're going to go with yet.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned with the the brand is. I am just
Yeah.
knowing what the material is.
The drawing says clad wood. So if it's anything other than clad wood, that would be a clarification we would need.
Okay.
On the door. And
On
then
the door.
windows, it says match
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah,
You said-
Yeah, so you're okay with clad wood door?
yes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And then you'll be matching the brick in between the two windows.
Yes.
All right. The same color,
Yes.
variation in
Yeah.
all of that.
We've been able to source some brick that closely matches from the other work that's been going on that we're gonna use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Godot? Well, thank you so much. Have a seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to this application? Then I'll close the floor to public comment. Any discussion by commission members? I like that they're replacing wood, putting in wood windows. We don't see that very often, so it's kind of nice, and it's going to give that side of the house a nice unity, I think, with the windows being the same. The large windows we see there now are not original.
I think it's great that they're putting wood windows in too. I do think that it probably just bears a little bit of discussion. Just, this is an architecturally significant house. What is happening is we're taking an existing window location and we are slightly altering where the windows are in a way that I don't think significantly changes what is not the facade in a way that appears appropriate and in keeping with the rest of the structure. I think it's sort of a heightened look, but, assuming that the materials are appropriate, seems to me like a change that is, I can understand why it may be being made and doesn't detract and is not inappropriate.
Good point. And to note that that little section is a later part, added to the house later on. It's not original to the house. Any other comments or questions? We have a standing motion to approve HPC 3124, Mark Nix petitions for a certificate of appropriateness, the replacement of a window and a door on the primary structure on the property located at 325 Queen City Avenue in the Druid City Historic District, Council District 4. We will vote, beginning on my left, please.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Mr. Godot, your application, this application has been approved. If there are any changes, please talk to city staff before you move forward. There will be a final inspection, and good luck with that part of the project. Moving on.
All right, we'll move on to the next case, but stay at the same property. So Mark Nix petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations to the primary structure at 325 Queen City Avenue in the Druid City Historic District, Council District 4. So again, here we have an aerial view and location, view of that primary structure. So this proposal is to remove and replace the brick underneath the thresholds. I will have the applicant confirm exactly what that looks like. I think there may have been a change in those plans to keep the brick underneath the thresholds, but I'll have the applicant confirm that once our staff's presentation is complete. On the front elevation, or the west elevation, they are requesting to place brick on the steps and thresholds. So this is the west elevation, the front facade of the house. Here you have the south elevation, and we provided just a couple of images. The stairs that you see here, this is what you as a commission previously approved. They removed the existing brick, replaced it with brick to match the style and pattern of the existing or found around the primary structure. This is the brick that currently exists underneath the thresholds. It's our understanding that they are requesting to keep the brick here and instead paint it white along here on the face, and on top to paint it a gray material or a gray color. And this is for the thresholds on the south elevation. Moving to the west elevation. So what you as a commission approved is for the applicant to remove the existing brick or the brick that was recently installed, so now it is back to that original material. This is a closer-up image of the material that exists. These are some of the marks that were made in its restoration when the brick was taken off. So what they are requesting essentially now is to replace it with brick that matches the brick that they used on the south side stairs. And I can go back to show an example. Essentially, they would like to replace this or to cover this with brick to match that's on the primary structure.
And they haven't said anything about painting that brick.
That's correct. They
Got
will.
it.
They do not request to paint the brick on the west side. We did receive at least one comment in opposition to this request, and we have the representative here in person.
Go for it.
I've got a question. You said that the marks there on the threshold were, is in your understanding, made in the process of removing?
That's
Okay.
correct.
What about on the stairs, the damage that we see? Is it your understanding that that was there or that was done in the process of removing the previous?
It's my understanding, based off of the limited images that we have seen prior to the brick that was installed, there were some cracks, but I don't recall seeing the cracks over here previously.
So some damage was done in
Yeah.
removing the brick facing.
And it's my understanding that
question.
the property owner confirmed there were cracks before they began this process that were of concern.
And the steps we're looking at here, what's the request?
So the request for the stairs here is to match it with, I'm going to go back a few slides, the stairs on the west elevation. So they covered these stairs with brick to match the primary structure. They essentially would like to do the same thing on the west elevation.
In a way, I've started to lose track of the changes.
Yes.
As we look at this particular photograph, wasn't there brick there already? Was there brick there already?
There,
I thought there was too.
it was brick that matches the
What-
threshold. So
Oh.
this look, this color, this style of brick is what was previously there. Your last approval, they requested to remove that style of brick and replace it with brick to match the primary structure. So this is work that has been done from February, back in February, when you as a body approved them to replace that brick. So now they are asking to place this brick here on the front stairs.
On top of the limestone.
That's correct.
And we can ask the applicant's representative on the orientation of those bricks, whether they're doing soldier course or.
That's correct.
horizontal. Got it. Any other questions, folks? Thank you. Let me invite the applicant's representative to come back. And again, if you don't mind, Mr. Gerdo, just state your name and address.
Again, my name
Again.
is Nathan
do it
Gerdo.
again.
My address is 5615 Union Chapel Terrace, Northport, Alabama.
Thank you so much. So here we are again.
Here we are.
Can we go, all right, so we're going to eat the elephant one bite at a time, right? Because this is a big thing. Let's go back to the front facade, city staff, if you don't mind. There we go. Okay, so this, let's take the view from further away, if you don't mind. All right, so I just want everybody to take a look at this front facade. And they've done a really nice job with that front walkway. Have you noticed that's been done? We approved that a couple of months ago.
Landscaping is lovely.
And the landscaping
Thank
too.
you.
You're seeing this coming together, so it's great. And I think we've got that walkway now that's completed, and it really does show you the intention of how this house is supposed to look from the street. You come in, it's this quiet look with these gray steps going up and this beautiful front entranceway. And think back to when we saw the brick facing on there and how it was visually just really disjointed. So let's go to the closer view of the steps, if you don't mind, city staff. So we asked them to remove the brick facing from these steps. And in the process, and I'm not sure if it's limestone or was another type of stone, but it doesn't really matter. In talking to Dr. Malone, the architectural historian, it's a softer stone. So to sort of go to the question you were asking, Mr. Cox, so that stone over time will chip off the way these are carved, and we know about the history of this, carved by a Scottish stonemason brought in to do this work. So they're significant. There was some chipping of the lips of each of the steps prior to this, but then more damage occurred in taking off the brick facing that was mortared to those steps, and that's what we're looking at here.
And I'm just going to say, I mean, it passed. I voted against it because I was very concerned that there was not a plan in place to sensitively remove that brick. And not only was it not sensitively removed, I mean, in terms of the threshold, it seems to have been rather violently removed. It's very disappointing. I guess it's disheartening.
Right, and hold that thought for a second on that threshold, because that's going to be like the next part as I'm sort of walking us up into the house. The issue that we look at here is, so we see the damage and something needs to be done. Our job is to look at the design guidelines and consider the structure and decide whether putting brick facing on this is appropriate for this house. We're not solving the problems of how it gets fixed. It's just what do the design guidelines say and what is appropriate for the structure. Then we move up to that threshold. And at first I thought these were tool marks from way back, but they're not. This was damage caused by removing it. As we go in closer to that threshold, right, there's a problem here with the house. You can see these gaps and things now that have occurred. We ask ourselves, though, whether the proposed brick facing is appropriate for this house and for that structure. When we go back to the street view of that front facade, there we go. And you see, you get a sense here of the intention of the design. This is what we ask ourselves for this front bit. And I'd like to know what the commission members think about the proposal. I spend a lot of time, I walk by or go by this house several times a day, and we don't have a photo, do we, of when the brick was on there before, right?
I can pull one up from
if you can pull it,
previous
I mean,
case.
if it's easy enough to pull it up, but just visually, design-wise, what that was like, because that's what's being proposed again in a way, except you're doing a different brick. You're not doing that brick from before, right?
We're not doing the brick from before. We're going to do the brick that is on the 4th Street side.
On the sides, yep.
The brick that we sourced. Yeah.
Yeah.
In keeping with your, I think, well-posed question, it seems to me that what's appropriate for this particular structure, which is, it's not derivative, it's not another bungalow. It's a revival, but it's very much its own thing. Is, the stairs and threshold that were selected originally, and that appearance, and the contrast it does provide to the red brick. So in my opinion, the solution that is appropriate for the structure is to repair the stone.
Okay, so yes, so I'm not an expert in repairable stone, so this is where I'm dancing around this just a little bit. I don't know.
Repeat that.
Okay, I'm not an expert in restoration of stone because I don't know that this stone can be properly restored. It may be too soft, but we're not experts in that. What I think I'm hearing from you, and sort of the way my feeling is that, right, we are looking at whether that brick is appropriate. That's it, not what they would do next. Now, in doing the brick work, do you propose it that it looks like this, like the horizontal
Yes, ma'am.
bits? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then, other questions, Mr. Gerdeau? Do you want to ask about the side? I'd like to ask a little bit about the side, if we can. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and, you know, we've looked at the house. So in the photo on the right, there's a lot of action going on there where the brick ends on either side. What's going to happen there? Like, what are you guys fully proposing in the photograph on the right? Because you are proposing just painting this,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So does the paint
The
continue
intent
over?
is for us to not take off any of that brick and for the stone to be,
Right. And if you go on the photo on the right and you move toward the left of that brick, you see some stonework there. What happens to that? And what happens to that sort of, looks like plaster maybe? Some kind of, not plaster, mortar?
yeah,
over on
some
the
kind
right?
of mortar smeared
Yeah,
on
what do
there,
you-
yeah.
What is the intention there? Does the
That would be,
painting is
that would
ju-
be painted white, like the
Okay.
rest,
All right.
yeah.
On the left, it looks, as we face it, on the left, it looks like there's wood facing. And over here, it looks like a different material on the left.
Oh, you're talking about on this left side over here?
That isn't that wood at the bottom on the, next to the threshold?
I believe that's a stone. Yeah, I believe that's stone under there. Or that left side stone, the right side, I believe is smeared mortar. And I'm not sure when that smear occurred. I've looked at some older pictures. I think it's been there. I'm not 100% sure.
City staff?
Just to clarify, these are two different doors, just on
Right.
the same side of the house.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
know that, right?
Okay.
We know that.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you. Okay, so these are the two different doors.
So one's on the south side and one's on the north side? Huh?
No, they're both,
they're both on the 4th Street side, which would be the south side.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the other one's right down the
Yep.
way?
Yeah.
Okay.
so it makes it really interesting, doesn't it?
But there's something missing down on the one on the right.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions for Mr. Godot? We may bring you back.
Okay.
Thank you. A lot of
Certainly.
questions on this one. This is tricky. Thank you so much. We've had one submitted comment. Anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to? Ms. Fitz?
My name is Kelly Fitz. I'm at 19 Audubon Place, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My big question about this is my understanding of brick.
Can you
It
pull
is-
the mic a little closer to you?
Brick. It is very difficult to buy, I think, what this house would have originally been made out of, which is a solid brick. The bricks that you can buy these days are, the standard brick, and they've got 3 holes in it. And in order to, if you're looking at this side, in order to get the caps on those little side walls, which I'm assuming those have been newly built, you have to it looks like they had to slice off the face of the brick, and then they start using it like a tile. And then also, that's what I'm seeing on these thresholds, is that they're using not what would have been an appropriately historic brick, you know, which would be probably a handmade brick, but they are taking either a modern brick or an old brick that probably had holes in it and slicing it and having to use it like a tile in order to get that solid face to it. And so to me, that's what calls my attention to this whole brick versus limestone versus what's appropriate versus not, is that this is a very old, one of the oldest houses in Tuscaloosa. And in order for it to maintain its historical accuracy, hopefully you would use materials in keeping with that. Whereas I'm not sure that what they've done here is necessarily in keeping with an old material. You know, that cap could have been made differently than what they did it, I believe, so that it doesn't look like just a half-inch brick on top. Can y'all zoom in on that so we can see what that looks like? You see that little half-inch brick on top of those little walls? You understand what I'm talking about? It's almost like a brick tile.
Oh, we see it.
Yeah, they weren't available at the time to make it, and so it would not have ever been made like that. And the same is with the door behind it. You know, they've covered whatever the original threshold was, which I'm not sure what it was. If I had to guess, these side doors, the original thresholds, you know, they could have been limestone, they could have been wood. And if they were wood, they would probably have shown 200 years of indentations and wear and age to it, which I think is quite lovely. So my big point is that I don't think covering the front steps with a brick where you have to slice it and make it look like a little thin veneer on top, I don't think that is very attractive, and I don't think it would be nice on the front steps of this house. A better solution, if they could come up with one, might be to, if they don't like the appearance of it, get a limestone cap made to put, especially at that threshold, because I think that the front door threshold that you said was damaged, you know, whether or not they could do a limestone cap to cover over that damage and maintain that integrity, I don't know. And the same thing with the front steps. You know, maybe they could put a limestone cap over it to make it look better. But I do think the use of this type of a thin brick, sliced brick installation on those front steps would be very much a detraction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in support of or opposition to? Closing the floor to public comment, opening the floor to discussion by commission members.
I think that it's been said fairly strongly in past discussions about this side having its own character versus the front having its own character. And I think that the monolithic nature of the steps and the thresholds on the front is very much a key element of that facade. Whether that can be repaired to where it gets a monolithic look again on the steps with the existing cracking and chipping and what was created by the removal of the brick, it's not really for me to say, but that would be the requirement of, or that would be what the guidelines would call for in that particular instance, is that appearance. As far as the thresholds, I think it really it's the same thing. As far as it was originally some sort of monolithic stone, that was the appearance, and so that's what the guidelines would call for. On the sides, I think that there's no way that it would be allowable for a brick to be located in those locations, painted or otherwise. So it would be some other material that's monolithic and uniform in nature.
What are your thoughts under the other threshold on that side of the house we're looking at now? Because we see different, the brick is added, but we see different things going on there.
I mean, whatever was original on these two would be something that we would, once you get through the investigation of what is under there and what it needs to be returned to, that would be when that determination gets made. That's not what's before us. What's before us is whether we're going to approve or deny this material in this form being painted white and gray.
Right, right.
So, to me, that's not part of the decision that we're making tonight.
Right, but as you were talking about sort of materials and things and what was there and what wasn't, looking at that photo on the right, we don't know, and it's not our job to know that. It's really to look at what the intention of the original design was. And I go back to that front facade where you had those, as you say, these monoliths, these hunks of stone, solid stone, that gave a particular appearance. It's that look that's important. I have less concern on the side of the house, quite frankly, because there have been other things done, and we've got some brick steps going off into the backyard. So I'm not as concerned with the side, but the front, I can't picture brick looking appropriate with the overall. Let's go from the street view again. As you look at that house, it's just, brick facers would just be, I think, visually jarring. I'd like to know what everybody else thinks, though. We've heard from Mr. Morris.
It seems to me that there's some consensus that the look needs to be original. We're not here to figure out how to achieve it, but there's no evidence that it's unachievable.
Nicely put, yeah. And I think that's where we're going, yes. And we're not saying it's got to be back with that original type limestone, for example. It's that the appearance in, what do the rehab guidelines say? Let's pull that up. Because we do have specific language about alteration and rehab that I think tucks into what you just said very nicely. There it is, respect, go back for a sec, respect the original design character of the structure. And I think part of the design character is that quiet gray of the stone. And then,
The third guideline down too is apt. Do not obscure or confuse the essential form and character of the original structure.
right. And then the next page, let's see now, where was it? There we go. Like-kind materials. So it doesn't have to be exact, but form and design conveys the visual appearance of the original. And I think that's the hook we hang our hats on. I think that's a really important aspect. I think that's what you were sort of addressing, right, Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And, I mean, we've already heard in the public comment, and I also know that it should be achievable in one form or another.
And as we do with so many petitioners, we're happy to engage in the dynamic process of them telling us, here's what we went out, here's what we think the best option is, and here are the reasons, but we're not even to that point here yet.
Is there a way to separate the two side thresholds from the front?
Yes, we can do that. I can call for a special motion to separate the consideration of the front facade issues with the south elevation issues. Do I have a motion to separate those? and
Before we
consider
go
those?
there, I'm confused on what is the, I heard the request was just, are we going to allow the painting of the sides, right? Is that what's being decided?
To keep the brick and paint the brick.
Keep the brick, so the brick was added without approval.
Correct. Yes. So do I have a motion to separate consider the front as a separate motion from the side? A motion. Do I have a motion? Say yes.
Yes, I
Do I-
so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Let's have a vote to separate the two parts of this application, beginning on my right, please.
Yes.
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 All right. So Dr. Davis, where would you like to start? The front, the side?
Sorry?
Where would you like to start?
Let's start with the side.
Okay.
I think Mr. Morris set out well that it does not appear to be like the original, and I think Ms. Fitz made some very good practical points about how this could not have looked like this when it was built. So even if you paint it, you know, you still have something that is anachronistic.
Other thoughts?
If they were painted, they would be less apparent as an anachronism, a little more tolerable. That's about the best I can say.
Let's go and take a view of that side again as a whole, please. Because we've got a number of things happening on the side of the house already. And I see it sort of secondary to the front. But I do want to circle back to some of the comments made. Dr. Davis, Mr. Morris, you know, the issue with the brick, it wasn't there originally. Do we deny that, leaving the brick facing and painting it? Or do we allow that? This side view, to me, is quite different because we have that full white wall. And taking that brick off doesn't change the damage already done. And in some ways, I have less objection to painting that because it will just clean up and quiet down that view. I have more concern with the front. But I'd like to hear what others think. It's a complicated one, isn't it?
I mean, what would be the alternatives?
Well, the alternative is the only alternative that we consider
Is just to vote it down.
is to vote it down, and they remove that brick and then come up with a solution. They bring it to us. Since everyone's been so quiet, I suggest that we go ahead and do a special motion to deal with this part of the application. All right? So, and I would still call it a special motion, or is it just a motion?
Since you're not going to approve the entire application as presented, I would just indicate in the motion what you are
Just to say,
wanting
do I say it's a special motion? So the special motion is to approve for that south facade, keeping that brick and allowing the applicant to paint the brick. Enough said? And I need a second on that? Or
I'll
no?
second it.
All right, so I've got a motion and a second. So we shall vote on this. Dr. Davis?
Yes.
No. I
Yeah.
believe that the materials are out there to do this in a way that is much more historically accurate, specifically related to the saw-cut brick and the thin joining.
I'm going to say yes on this one.
Yeah, I'm deeply conflicted, particularly with the history on the project. I do think that the result will be aesthetically appropriate enough, and I think the bigger issue is around the corner, so I'm going to vote yes.
I'll vote yes also.
I'll vote yes.
So we have 5 yeses. All right, Mr. Godot, This part of your application has been approved. Now we're going to move around to the front of the house. All right, front facade. So let's take a look, if we can, city staff, if you don't mind. There we go. All right, so we've talked a lot about the brick. We've talked a lot about rehab issues, the design guidelines on all of these sorts of things, right? I don't know that we need to travel that road again, but let's talk about sort of the nuts and bolts about this sort of thing. You know, this is the primary facade of a significant house. This is the original part of the house. Our job is not to come up with a solution to say, well, maybe they could repair the stone, or maybe they could replace the stone. That's not us. We look at the design guidelines and look at the design intention originally with this house. Is facing it with brick appropriate for those front steps and for that threshold? Clearly, something's going to have to be done with both of these things, but that's not what our expertise is.
Yeah, I would say that as proposed, it violates every principle of restoration and several key elements of historic preservation that are in our guidelines.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, folks. So I'd like a motion, special motion, to approve the applicant's changes for the front facade, that is that brick facing, for the threshold and the front steps. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll vote on this one. All right. So the motion is to approve. Beginning on my left, please. Mr. McCool.
I vote no.
I vote no.
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 So, Mr. Godot, the issue is just, it changes too much that, as you've heard in our discussion, because I don't know that we need to poll each commission members at this point, do we? No. The concern is that it's just too much of a change from the aesthetics of the front of this structure. And so, as a commission, we voted to deny your application this evening. Please talk to city staff about moving forward with everything, but we do want to commend you and the homeowner on all the work you've done so far. It's really looking great. The landscaping is wonderful. The new walkway and the driveway look really good. We can tell you're putting a lot of care into this. That the proposal for the front of the house was just too dramatic a change for us to approve this evening. All right, thank you.
Mr. Cheshire, my understanding is that the statute may specifically require us to state reasons upon voting. And I think it might be enough for everybody to adopt their earlier discussion, but I'm just looking for your advisement as to whether you think we need to go through that step.
In this, if everybody wants to, I don't see any harm in it. In this case, I do think it is a moot point since at least 3 commission members gave their bases for denying it, so it would not have passed. But to the extent that anyone would feel more comfortable giving their reasons, it wouldn't take but a minute.
I'll just adopt the reasoning of a lot of the other commissioners in the discussion that was had as being my reason for my no vote, and leave it there.
Thank you. Okay.
Next case is HPC 3324. Robert Eason petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a front yard fence. This is on the property at 402 17th Avenue in the Pinehurst Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have an aerial view of the property as well as its location. And here we have a view of the primary structure. This is the view from 17th Avenue. We'll go through these adjacent northern and eastern properties. So the proposal is to install a 3-foot tall wrought iron fence on top of the existing retaining wall. So this is an existing front yard fence or front yard wall that you see. It's covered by greenery currently. We do have some images that show this a little bit easier, but essentially the wall extends along the front property lines, and their request is to put or to place a wrought iron fence on top of that existing wall. So this is going down 4th Street, and you can see that the retaining wall does change slightly in terms of height. So the retaining wall, or the proposed fence, will be the same height. It just will depend on the overall height as it goes up and down 4th Street. Here we have just a diagram showing you where the fence will be located on site. So again, you can see it runs along 4th Street, and then it comes around front towards 17th Avenue. And here we have a drawing of the proposed wrought iron fence. And this is the gate over that front walkway. Materials wrought iron, so it is listed as an appropriate fence material. To my knowledge, we did not receive any public comment for this application, and we do have the representative here in person.
Can we go back to the view of the side yard?
Yes.
And so we do have a sidewalk going in there. I guess I could ask the applicant if there's going to be a gate. You don't know, right? The gate's on the front.
I don't know if it's going right there.
Okay.
That's correct. Yep.
Any other questions for city staff? Thank you so much. Let me invite the applicant to come up, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Carolyn Deason, 402 17th Avenue.
So quick question, on the side yard, part of your yard here, is there going to be a gate there or just?
Yes, we are planning a gate that, not sure yet whether it will match exactly the one in front or just be a regular, standard gate. It's, without any lines in it, like the front.
What was sort of the impetus of the idea to put the fence on top of the brick wall?
Aesthetics, for one. Safety, number two. I have fallen off that wall before. I do a lot of weeding, and it comes right out to the wall. So I have fallen off of it personally myself. And we also have a lot of walking traffic in the neighborhood, and students come by with their dogs, and they're looking at their cell phones, and the dogs come up in the yard and do their business. So that type of thing.
Any other questions for Mrs. Deason? Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We've had no submitted public comment. Is there anyone here to speak in support of or opposition to the application? Ms. Fitz? And state your name and address again, if you don't mind.
Kelly Fitz, 19 Audubon Place. The Decents keep their yard so beautifully, and their property is just immaculate and so well kept, and it's really a joy to go by every day. My biggest concern is creating something that's a little bit taller at the sidewalk, and I guess my question is, could the same safety be achieved by maybe putting the fence instead of on top of the retaining wall, as to maybe putting it just right at the back edge of the retaining wall towards the house, so that you don't necessarily have a, say a 3-foot tall brick wall, and then right there on top of it, another 3 feet of wrought iron. I just think it might be a little softer looking without maybe impacting their need for safety and privacy and whatever else. I just kind of feel like it might help. As far as installation, that's a whole nother thing that I don't know what the parameters would be as far as how difficult that would do, so.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else to speak in support of or opposition to? Let me close the floor to public comment and open the floor to discussion by commission members.
In light of that comment, I would have a question for the petitioner as to the location of the new fence in relation to the front, rear, center of the brick wall.
Yep.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Where in relation to the in line with the wall, where would the new fence go? Would it go the center, the front, the back?
In the center of the wall was the plan.
Okay. That's it. That's all we
That's it.
needed. Thanks.
Okay.
So I think it's really interesting because we started off this it's been a long night already, and we had another case in the same neighborhood involving a fence, and that was inappropriate because it wasn't a right material. I think the material is appropriate. The fence, the style of the fence is appropriate. I think it would look terrific. I think the house already looks terrific and it's well maintained. I do think that we have been pretty consistent in not allowing front yard fences. I think the idea is to keep the facades visible, to not, I remember, on 7th Street, somebody put a wood picket fence around their front yard because they had a dog, and it was nothing like as nice as what is going to go up here, but we said no, and we've been pretty darn consistent absent some special exigent circumstances, which is why I asked. And if I'm wrong about that, I'd love to be corrected.
And we've allowed some front yard fences in the past. With this, because of the wrought iron and it's 3 feet tall, I don't see it as being, say, the way we have, I don't know, a wooden fence, which gives a different sort of visual. I also see the need for safety, because if that wall were being put up today, wouldn't there be a code issue with having to have something so somebody doesn't fall off the wall?
That's correct. If this wall came to you all new, it would have to comply with the building code, which would require the fence on top of the retaining wall.
To me, the safety issue is the primary difference between this and a typical just all flat front yard fence that's there merely to divide the yard from the sidewalk.
Okay, I'm good with that. So the fence prevents people from falling from the precipice.
Well, and if we look at the design of the fence, let's very quickly just put the design of the fence up. It's a very elegant fence with the little short pickets and the taller ones. I think it's just it's appropriate for the house, as you notice. So, all righty. It sounds like we've squeezed out all the discussion on that one. We have. Standing motion to approve. HPC 3324, Robert Deason petitions for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a front yard fence on the property located at 402 17th Avenue in the Pinehurst Historic District, Council District 4. Let us vote. On my right, please.
Yes.
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 Ms. Deason, your application has been approved. Good luck with the project. Should anything change, please talk to city staff about it before you move forward, and good luck.
All right, Commission, we'll move on to our last case of the night, HPC 3424. Carrie Fitz and Kelly Fitz petition for a certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations to the primary structure at 1611 Deering Place in the Deering Place Historic District, Council District 4. So here we have the aerial view of the property as well as its location. This is a view of the primary structure from Deering Place. And here we have the adjacent eastern and western properties. So the proposal, we've divided up by elevation. On the western elevation, they are proposing to expand the entrance landing with brick and a wrought iron railing. They would also like to replace the existing light fixture with a light fixture from the rear of the property. So they're removing a light fixture from the south elevation, placing it on the west elevation. On your southern elevation, they are requesting to remove the existing stoop and railings, as well as those existing light fixtures. In place, they are going to construct a new stoop in a new location with a wood decking material. They are also requesting to remove, replace, and alter design of windows and doors on both floors of the primary structure. The new window material will be aluminum-clad wood, and any brick replacement to be done for the landings will be salvaged original brick, and it'll be utilized for patching around the house. So we'll go around the primary structure. Here we have the front facade moving to that the west elevation. On the left-hand side, you have the existing. On the right-hand side, you have the proposed. So that is where the deck landing area will be located, and you can see the wrought iron railing that you see here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there's existing wrought iron railing directly adjacent to this.
And what is the material of that new decking?
Bricks.
Okay.
Moving to the rear of the primary structure, we have just a couple of pictures showing the existing windows and the existing door. Those will all be altered, so most of the windows on the exterior or on the rear facade of the primary structure are being altered, changed, removed, replaced. You can see that instead of maintaining the deck area here, they are instead requesting a new, this is where the wooden deck material will be located, but a new landing area. It's kind of hard to see. We have an image, but there's a door right here. They are maintaining, just replacing with a different material the door that currently exists, and then you can see the light patterns and windows that are changing on the rear facade. Here again, we have existing and proposed elevations. This shows it a little bit more clearly, provides the dimensions of those windows, both existing and proposed, and shows you the location of those. For the materials, we have brick steps, wrought iron railings, wood decking and steps, aluminum clad wood windows and doors, and the salvaged brick to patch up any areas around the primary structure. And then here we have those material spec sheets. We did receive one comment in support of the application, and we have the petitioner here in person.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Bowen? All right, thank you so much. Let me invite the applicant to step forward, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Kelly Fitz, 19 Audubon Place.
So I do have a question. If we go there, that's it. That's
the question.
You were reading my
Yes.
mind. There's my questions on this slide. So we are changing the light pattern for the windows on the second story in this elevation.
The windows on the second story, that was an original sleeping porch. So there were no windows up there. And so back in the 70s, 80s, 60s, I'm not sure when, somebody just created, it's just plate glass inserted into a wooden frame. So it's not historically accurate to begin with, and we're just trying to make it look a little bit better.
So you decided not to match the other windows, though, on
No,
that floor?
and I, you know, as much as I love keeping things historic, when you get into large expanses of single pane windows, it starts to look modern. And so with the divided lights, to me, it brings it back down to scale into a more traditional window. No other, you didn't show the other side of the house with the screen porch? I mean, the sunroom? On that side, on the far
yeah, 'cause all of
west side,
those are-
there's a sunroom that's
those are all
original to the
1/1s.
house. And it has divided light windows on 3 sides of it. If that originally had been built with single panes, it would have looked very modern for 1925. And so, in trying to keep with that feel of the more divided lights on the sunroom, I'm trying to do the same thing upstairs in what was an original sunroom or screen porch to keep it more in scale with what it would have normally, I think would have normally been accurate for 1925.
I do get the ground floor sun porch with those large windows. But the second floor, I was wondering why we went with divided lights instead of the 1/1s like we see everywhere else in the house for windows.
But you never see wide expanses of windows in this 1/1 anywhere through the house. You only see ones and, single windows of 1/1 and pairs of windows with a 1/1. The thing I'm trying to do upstairs on this is another 3 feet wider than these lower windows, these pairs. And so I think when you do that, to me, it makes it start looking more modern than it should.
I think those are the original windows on the facade.
Where?
On the facade, downstairs and upstairs, I think those are the original windows.
On this facade? All of this is original, yes. And you don't have a picture of the sun porch for comparison? Okay. And then so that was my reasoning for putting in undivided light windows on that upper floor.
And then the brick deck landing area.
Yes.
So what brick are you using for that?
I'm going to try to match what's already there.
Okay, without like a modern
And I may
brick.
be able to salvage what we take off the back of the house and use it here. I'm trying to correct some things here by expanding the landing, which one will bring it up to code, because now you're supposed to have a big landing outside of a door. Get rid of the gap between those tacky concrete stairs and the little brick knee wall with the wrought iron on top of it. That goes actually down into, there's a big well for basement access right there.
And so how is the brick patterning going to be on that, the brick patterning for that landing? Because it's hard to tell in the sketch. Do you have soldier
Yes.
course?
I'll have a soldier
horizontal?
course on the edge. It'll be a standing soldier course, so it'll be a full height of a brick on the edge. And then on the top, I will do probably a basket weave pattern
Okay,
on the
of
top.
a full brick.
Of a full brick, yeah. And then on the left side, you see that asphalt berm, that somebody put that there to keep water, I guess, from going into the basement. And so I'm extending out to try to correct some of that as well.
I couldn't tell what that was.
Yeah, it's nasty. You can see there's a soldier course header right there that was above a basement window. So it's really not very pretty.
That basement window's been covered up. That's interesting.
Yeah. So
I don't want to monopolize the question time. Anybody else have questions?
Can you go back to the existing versus new front facade?
Do you want the front?
Yeah, this is not the front.
That's not the front, that's the back.
Is the front all staying the same?
The front's all staying the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just calling your attention to the fact that there were divided light windows on that sunroom on the left side there, which to me is a precedent for this house, having divided lights on more expanses of glass. And that room is 3 sides of glass. Say that again? The divided light continues on the side. Yes, yes.
Other questions or comments? Thank you so much. If we have anything else, we'll
Oh, and on the rear of the house, I didn't know if you noticed, but there was an addition that, I'm trying to keep the lower portion of the house with the divided lights. That was started years ago. So I'm trying to, if I have to pick and choose which to go with, the 1/1s or the divided, I prefer the divided, and it seems to make a cohesive design for the main lower floor of the house in the back.
Yeah. I go back to the design guidelines about sort of matching the sort of pattern, the light patterns of existing windows. Because what I see on the side with the sun porch is very large sun porch type window, but on the second floor, they're in keeping with the same sort of scale, height as other windows, and that's what gave me pause, is just the
Well,
divided lights there, not the
I
one over ones.
I understand, and, I guess if I was back in 1925, when this house was new, and I glassed in my sun porch on the side with divided light windows, I would probably have chosen, if it was me, I would have chosen to have glassed in that upper porch with divided light windows. So that's just me. Anything else?
I think we're good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody here to speak in support of or opposition to the application? I'll close the floor to public comment, and let's talk about the application, folks. So we got some clarification on the brick for that deck landing area.
I think there's a decent amount of precedent in my recollection for allowing alterations to light patterns on the back of homes if it's sensitive and otherwise appropriate.
I think it's not something we do easily, for good reason, but there is some justification with what's on the sun porch already, and with how the presentation is here, and at least one, maybe even two of the 1920s windows is maintained at the top on the second story.
I would agree. I needed that clarification in order to be okay with allowing the change in the light pattern, because that's something that we traditionally have not taken lightly.
Correct. All right, so we have a pause. That suggests to me that we should go ahead with our standing motion to approve. Any further discussion? All right, folks. Standing motion to approve HPC 3424, Carrie Fitz and Kelly Fitz petition for a certificate of appropriateness for exterior alterations to the primary structure on the property located at 1611 Deering Place in the Deering Place Historic District, Council District 4. We shall vote, beginning on my right.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Ms. Fitz, your application has been approved. Should anything change, please see city staff. And good luck with the project. Thank you.
All right, Commission, the only other order of business, staff has approved 13 expedited reviews since the previous HPC meeting.
Thanks so much, city staff, for all the work that you do. And Ms. Coyne, you did a wonderful job presenting the cases tonight, so thank you so much. And thank you all. Good night.